So I'm Johnny. I'm 31 from Washington State. I'm here with Dan.
I'm 32, and I was from Washington State, but I am now from the great state of Idaho.
Beautiful state of Idaho.
Beautiful state of Idaho.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Awesome Idaho.
And we are going to talk about relationships right now. Dan, you have some relationship stuff going on.
Yeah, about that. I guess in early recovery, they tell you no unnecessary major changes in the first year.
Makes sense.
They tell you not to get into relationships in the first year. And there is a ton of reasons for that. And I was a victim of it. I met a girl that went to the same treatment facility that I did. And she's an amazing person. She still is an amazing person. We had a lot in common, and we fell pretty hard pretty quick. And in a lot of circumstances, people would say, oh, that was your disease and her disease just mingling, and you guys didn't even really know if you loved each other or not. In our case, we had some pretty crazy things in common, and some very necessary things in common that were very foundational to building a very long-lasting, successful relationship. And that's what made it especially difficult when it didn't work out. Unfortunately, in this circumstance, it wasn't anything that I did. This person, who I still love and care about very much, just was not emotionally or mentally ready or even capable of being in a relationship. A lot of times there's circumstances in this life, there are things that happen to people. A lot of bad things happen to really good people. And a lot of that doesn't come to light till later on in life. And unfortunately, in this set of circumstances, those things that happened cause a lot of emotional trauma. They cause a lot of mental trauma. And those people, as much as they'd like to be in a relationship, are not ready, and they might not be ready for years.
So do you think that the advice that they give you in recovery is good advice for that reason?
I think it's good advice for that reason, and a whole lot of other reasons too. Obviously, see, in her and I situation, my addiction and her addiction were two totally different things. So we could support each other. I didn't totally understand what her addiction was all about because it wasn't my struggle, and she didn't totally understand what my addiction was about because it wasn't her struggle. But we were able to focus on our own recovery in that sense. A lot of times what will happen is you'll find people that get together who had the same addictions, so they think they have a lot in common because they experienced a lot of the same things because they were addicted to the same substance.
Right.
And in the end, they end up using together and end up back in rehab, or they end up using together and not ending up back in rehab, and all sorts of bad things happen. They end up having kids. They bring kids into a world and into a relationship that's not ready. They end up relapsing, overdosing. They end up harming themselves or others and ending up in jails, institutions, and some of them end up dying. And that's just a sad fact.
It's kind of a phenomenon in recovery, as well as when I went through the military basic training. When you come out of basic training, you've spent weeks without much control over your life. Someone's telling you what to do at all times. Your schedule is made for you. You just follow orders. You're learning how to become disciplined and how to follow orders. And so you have to turn off your control for a while. And, you lose that aspect of your life. But when you come out of there, you go through what's called technical training. Different branches of the military call it different things, A school, tech school, what have you. And when you go through that tech training, you get a little bit more freedom, and it's granted to you more and more gradually so that you can adjust to military life. But what happens, and it's a phenomenon there as well as in recovery, is people tend to gravitate toward one another as if they've never had freedom before. And so, they'll meet a significant other and think, oh, we have so much in common. We just went through all the same stuff. We're sharing the same stories about our, we have, maybe we're from the same place, or we have the same jobs going into the military. And they form these relationships because they just had no control over their lives. And the same happens in an inpatient setting too.
Absolutely.
People lose control. They meet other people that are going through what they're going through, and so they appreciate those friendships that they're building even more. And I don't want to call it a false confidence in that, they become locked on one another and they think, oh, this person, this was meant to be as perfect. Because sometimes those things work out, I think I'm not one to say
Sometimes
that
they work out,
it's
but what
impossible.
the problem is you have people in a setting like that where you say you have a male and a female person that are in inpatient together, and they're experiencing the same struggle. They're both detoxing from the same substance, so to speak. They discover they have a lot of things in common as far as where they're at in their recovery, and they think this is meant to be. This is going to be awesome. This is going to work out. We can support each other in this. We can help each other in this. The problem is they get so enmeshed so early on with each other that they don't take the time to really focus on themselves as individuals.
Right.
Two broken people don't make one whole person. A successful relationship is two whole people coming together and supporting each other, becoming a team, and doing some really cool things with their lives, supporting each other in that. When you get two broken people who try to work things out together, they become very codependent. They become very enmeshed in each other, and it's not a healthy environment because, like I said, they don't take the time to focus on themselves. They are so wrapped up in what the other person is doing and where they're at in their recovery that theirs goes by the wayside.
Well said.
And that produces a false confidence in each of them that they have this going for them, and they don't even see it coming when it happens. You don't see relapse when it comes. You don't see it coming, and it happens long before you ever take the drink or the drug. And that's why, like, a relationship in an inpatient setting and an early recovery outside of the inpatient setting is just not a healthy thing. That's why they say don't get into relationships.
See, the problem is people who with addiction, they do the same thing, for a while, and then it becomes a worse problem. The disease progresses. And so they haven't learned how to live without their chemical of choice, whatever they're addicted to. They haven't learned how to cope with emotions, frustrations, what have you. And so when they come out and they're sober, they, might attach themselves to someone else, say, oh, we can learn together, but it's a personal journey. And when you're going through that, you need time to settle in and learn who you are.
Absolutely, it's
without
a personal
that drug
journey,
or without
and
that drink or whatever, whatever.
like I said, hard times come in life, and if you're in that relationship and early recovery, you're counting on that other person for emotional, moral, and even physical support sometimes. And when that person gets so worn out and so drained because of what's going on in your life, they can't handle theirs and they end up relapsing. You're left in a place that's 10 times worse than it was before you were ever in the relationship to begin with. And it's really unfortunate. I had to learn the hard way. And it was because I thought I knew everything. I didn't think I knew everything. I know I knew everything, right?
Yep.
No. I didn't know everything, and I had been in recovery for about 3 months when I met this person. And she had just gotten out of inpatient. And it was a very difficult time. The time we spent together was absolutely wonderful. It was absolutely awesome. It was amazing. And this is the other problem with relationships in early recovery. You can do absolutely everything right and still not have it work out. Like I said, sometimes the other people are just not ready or capable of being in a relationship, even if you are. And that leaves you in a place of, where did I go wrong? Was it something I said, or was it something I did? Was there something I could have done differently? Was there something I should have done differently? And you start questioning everything that you have learned up to that point, and it leaves you in a dark place. It leaves you in a bad place.
Puts a lot of focus on you as a person who's continuing to make mistakes, and you start to question yourself. And that's not something you need any more of when you're in recovery, because recovery, it's a tough process. And no matter how easy people think it is going into it, that pink cloud fades away pretty soon. And you start to realize, wow, I'm living a life of, having to look at my mistakes right now. I'm apologizing to people for things that I've done wrong. I am basically getting an eagle-eye view of all the mistakes that I've made. And here I am making more. Is there just something wrong with me? Because when the relationship doesn't work, you want to blame yourself. Or sometimes you want to have contempt for the other person, and that's not good either. That's a big relapse trigger for a lot of people, is when they're looking at a relationship and they're holding resentment towards someone else. Where does that leave you? That resentment doesn't do you any good.
Yep. 2 reasons for relapse are relationships and finances.
Financial, relationship, and legal problems are the 3 highest problems leading to suicide or suicidal
Oh,
ideation.
absolutely.
So
And
yeah,
relationships are
relapse,
one thing, but the
I'm sure
financial
isn't.
aspect of it, when you're in active addiction or active alcoholism, you become complacent and all that. You don't care about your finances. You don't care that you're going bankrupt. You don't care that you're in debt. You don't care about any of those things. And when you get into recovery and you start taking care of those things, it becomes very, very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So you have all these financial obligations to take care of, and then you add a relationship on top of that. Good luck, dude.